pregnant, my mother was known to race down ski hills in a shiny spandex suit. People did crazy things like that back then. No wonder this adrenaline-infused infant that I ended up being ended up pursuing a career initially in international competitive ski racing. After a few years on that international circuit, I decided to transfer my pursuits from the wild and unknown of my body, and how to focus my athletic skills into my brain. And I hurled myself into the design world. After an honors communication degree from Nova Scotia College of Art and Design, I carried on these studies in a highfalutin French school in Paris, France, finding a decidedly deep passion for typography. I've worked in this field of print and communication design for over a decade now. Team player for many different design firms across Canada, and a broad section of clients, some including Labatt, Birks, the Royal Canadian Mint, Los Angeles Children's Museum, Random House, UK, National Film Board of Canada. After working in the big city for about 4 years, I head for the hills. That need to be near skis never really went away. And I now design for Picnic Creative. The session we experienced earlier, I'd like to say that I was kind of how I got into graphic design. I was kind of that Barbie doll you saw earlier that said, math is hard. I was less sophisticated, but I really didn't get numbers. I came from a family of artists and athletes who were quite scared of technology and science. That whole kind of rigidity of the left brain was quite defeating for me. And I was a teen who basically really wanted to just be free and spontaneous and creative and wild. And that began my career, or my inquiry into, what does the other side of the brain have to offer me? I needed to exercise that. So I started by going to Malaspina College of Art and Design in Nanaimo, where I was in the bad apple group, because the bad apples were the ones who couldn't find the power button on the computer. I was 25 years old when I started my degree, and the struggle of that first semester really was a really huge pivotal point in my life. It was like a new appendage was kind of growing outside of my brain. I was developing a whole area of thinking that really didn't match the comfort zone of the more intuitive and artsy, language-based sides of thinking that I was certainly more adept at. So that realization really hit me. The creative arts, which I ended up pursuing in the design realms, were significantly enhanced by my willingness to engage technology. So that boogeyman really became a bosom buddy of mine. My career was launched upon that realization, and my desire to learn really became insatiable after that. I've had this feeling of newness that I just constantly, it was like a whole realm, a whole side of my brain had opened up through science or through technologies. What I ended up pursuing into a degree was at Halifax in the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design was semiotics and typography. For those of you who don't know, typography is the design and creation of letter forms. So those millions of little fonts that come out of your computer, they don't just spontaneously show up there. Somebody actually designs those very meticulously by hand. It's a science of form, typography, a technology of shape. And those letter forms, although quite redundant on their own, what's a lowercase g? It's nothing without the context within its that it's sitting in, which is the tremendous power of communication design when those letter forms get put together. Here's the rest of my speech. Sorry. And, you know, although those letter forms are really created on that right side of the brain through creative and intuitive hands-on approach, it was the science, or the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain, the computers that really brought those letters to life. So if you can imagine the way that computers have now affected the pure density and alarmingly high rate of information that is available to us today via the media and the communication arts. This is all thanks to technology, thanks to computers. And so I encourage anyone who thinks technology might be terrifying. I was one that was like that at your age. And creativity is right beside it, and at all times. And together they really make a wicked couple. It's a type of relationship that's really limitless and awe-inspiring. I'm happy to talk to anyone later on. If you've got an artistic bent and get a little freaked out by technology, come talk to me.